Hello, welcome back. And as you can see from the title slide here, we're going to talk about classification and identification very briefly, because identifying plants is not as easy as it seems. So I'm just providing some explanation and some advice, which hopefully will help out. So plants are classified into orders and families, and then genus and species. And each level of classification groups together plants with certain common characteristics. The more characteristics shared by two plants, the more closely related they are. So, as an example, here are three plants in the genus Echium. And they have similar flowers, but in growth habit and leaf shape and virtually every other aspect, including flower colour, they vary quite a lot. And this one here is Patterson's Curse. You may be familiar with it as a pasture weed. But all of the Echium plants are quite different, even though they're in the same genus, which is quite a close grouping of plants. In fact, the accepted classification system which was developed and which we use was created by a man called Carl Linnaeus in the early 18th century, and it mainly uses the flowers of a plant to place it in a family, etc. And that's why the Echium plants are related, because their flowers are very similar. Two descriptive names, or binomials, give the plant its official botanical name, such as this river red gum here, which is Eucalyptus camaldulensis. And this silver wattle here is otherwise known as Acacia dealbata. Now, common names are very good because they can describe plants very well, but these names vary from place to place and they can be unreliable from the strictly scientific point of view. In fact, silver wattle might have be a description for 3 or 4 different sorts of plants. The Patterson's Curse we saw before is called Salvation Jane in South Australia. Same plant. Care needs to be taken because many obvious physical features of plants, such as the leaf shape, the general growth habit, flower colour, the leaf arrangement, the attachment of leaves, spines or thorns, stem profile, etc., etc., they can be found on every plant, every family of plants. There are combinations of features, but especially the flowers, that distinguish one plant from another. This means that having flowers, stems, buds, fruit, and empty seed pods might be the only way to identify a plant. And then, of course, just to complicate matters even more, individual plants may vary in all of these things. Sorry, I'm making your job pretty hard. My advice is to start slowly and get familiar with the common plants that you encounter every day. You will find a guidebook, especially one with an identification key, is useful too. Get to know 1 or 2 families at a time and study the different species and their differences, and you'll get a greater understanding of how the whole system works. Some of the plants you see may be perennial, while others are annual or even biennial. That is, they complete their life cycle from seed to seed in the space of 2 years, 2 seasons. This is where your journal comes into its own. Make use of it to do quick sketches of the different parts of a plant that you can see. The plant may be gone tomorrow. Add a photo and you've got some good information to take home and go through the books or keys. One good idea is to discover which plants are likely to recur in your area and get to know them. It's pointless really at this stage trying to remember all the characteristics of a plant that only grows in the tropics or only in Tasmania. Interesting though that may be. The most difficult aspect of plant ID can be the terms used by botanists and others to describe the parts of a plant. Don't let these tricky and sometimes obscure words put you off. Most good plant ID books will have a glossary of terms that they use, and if not, the internet is also a good resource, as you can see.